This week we're going to highlight the results of the monthly NOPA Crust Report for soybeans. We're also going to take a look at an ongoing weak soybean meal export demand picture. Then we're going to take a look at the soybean planting pace here in the U.S. as well as short-term weather trends. Hi, this is Brian Basting with Advanced Trading. Let's talk about the soybean market. We've moved into the latter half of May here, and the soybean market remains extremely volatile. Let's start out this week looking at this week's monthly NOPA Crust Report for soybeans. This is an important report because this gives us a gauge of how aggressively we're seeing soybeans crushed, as well as the usage trends of soybean meal and soybean oil. Notice here that crush was on the negative side for the month of April. Should this pace, the slowdown in pace, be realized to the end of August, it would suggest a reduction in the annual USDA crush forecast, and that would partly alleviate that extremely tight situation for old crop beans. Let's move on now and look at the implied soybean meal domestic consumption here. That appears to have also declined 5% here in April from the previous month, and it's also slightly below last year, so these high soybean meal prices may be having a rationing effect. Now turning to soybean oil here, total soybean oil consumption in April, that's domestic use of oil plus exports, but absent imports, that declined 135 million bushels from April down to 1.959 billion pounds. However, despite the reduction, our estimated total soybean oil consumption was up over 10% compared to March of last year. So as we speak here, soybean oil is approaching all-time highs, and it's really helping to carry the soybean market to high levels also. Now, we mentioned some very weak domestic offtake of soybean meal. Let's take a look at that soybean meal export trend. Here we were looking at unshipped sales of U.S. soybean meal export. You can see it's at a multi-year low here. Here's the key point we want to highlight. With ample South American supplies and with weak domestic soybean meal offtake, we're seeing a situation where demand for soybean meal appears to be pulling back or being rationed. That may eventually result in a lower domestic soybean crush rate here in the U.S. Once again, potentially alleviating this tight supply of beans that we have for this crop year. Let's move on now and take a look at U.S. soybean planting progress. And we're really accelerating this planting progress here for beans. We're all the way up to 61% done now. Nationwide, look across the map there, you can see particularly west of the Mississippi, really seeing active planting progress. And as we'll see in a minute, it looks like there may be an opportunity for these states in the eastern Corn Belt to catch up. Aggregate-wise here, as we look at the last several years, we're looking at the highest pace in the last several years here, as depicted by that red line. And on average, over the next 2 weeks between now and Memorial Day, we plant another 30% of the beans. So we could be approaching 85, maybe as much as 90% of the beans nationwide planted by Memorial Day. Of course, that planting pace will be directly related to the weather. Let's take a look at the short-term weather trends. Our slides, as usual, are courtesy of T-Storm Weather. Now we're taking here a look at the next 7 days. A lot of green there, particularly west of the Mississippi. As you go further east, notice it's not quite as wet, so that'll give hopefully those eastern Corn Belt states an opportunity to get some planting complete. Now we're moving on to show between the purple lines in the background there, that is where the majority of the rain is going to be seen. So once again, the further east we go, that's outside of that purple line. Hopefully we can get some planting catch-up done in that eastern Corn Belt. Wrap things up looking at next week. You can see it looks like the rains return in force here over all areas in that week leading up to Memorial Day. So it may be some stop and go leading up to the holiday weekend. Let's wrap things up briefly looking at trends in November soybean futures. And we'll continue to look at this slide as the spring and summer progresses. Once again, even though soybean futures have declined a bit in new crop, that November 2021 soybean contract is currently trading at the highest level ever for this time of year. So we strongly encourage you to continue to work closely with your trusted risk management advisor to manage this price movement. Now, if you'd like more information, please feel free to contact us at 800-664-2321. We'll put you in contact with our risk management consultants. We'll be happy to visit with you at your convenience. And remember, we upload every Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss an upload. Thanks a lot. Have a good week.